This story reflects a fact. Getting what you want is never an easy thing. Even if you eventually manage to get it, it comes at a cost. Let's see how the characters in the movie are experiencing the same cruel rules of the world. In today's video, we are reviewing the 2015 fantasy and horror film, Tale of Tales. Spoiler ahead. At the beginning of the movie, we see the kingdom of Long Trellis, where people are practicing some entertainment activities. The king smiles as he watches the performance, but the queen seems a bit uncomfortable. One of the performances ends with a clown spilling a bucket of water on a pregnant woman, which makes the queen uncomfortable, and she immediately leaves the room. As she walks out, the king follows her, and tears are in her eyes. The queen goes to her room, starts breaking objects, venting her frustration. The king finally finds her, and she starts crying as he embraces her. At night, a necromancer comes to the king's court, offering them a method to get pregnant. He explains that getting the queen pregnant will cost a life, and that's how the world operates, one coming and the other going. The queen is happy to hear this solution, as she is prepared to give her life for pregnancy. The necromancer suggests that if the queen eats a sea dragon's heart prepared by a virgin, she will become pregnant instantly. The king agrees, then goes to sea wearing armor that allows him to breathe underwater. The king goes to the seafloor, sees the creature sleeping there, and approaches the beast quietly and slowly, attacking it with a spear. The beast awakens and retaliates as it throws the king down. The king tries to stand but can't see anything due to the blood in the water. As it swings its tail, he finally sees it, and then it falls dead from its wounds. The king's men cut off the animal, taking its heart out. They bring it to the king, who himself seems not at all comfortable. As he looks at the creature's heart, the king smiles victoriously, and then dies right there. The queen arrives, immediately sets out to cook the creature's heart, not caring much about the husband sacrificed for this pursuit. As the necromancer tells them, a virgin cooks the heart of the dragon, and we see it still beating after being separated from the body. As the girl places the heart into boiling water, she feels terrible, and clutching her stomach in pain, realizes she is pregnant. The heart finally cooks and is served to the queen. She is so determined to have a child that she eats it with her hands and face covered in blood. 9 months later, both women give birth to their sons simultaneously. They appear to be twins. The queen names her son Elias, and the servant's son is named Jonah. 16 years later, when we see the queen's son Elias playing in the garden with her, she struggles to keep up with him. Elias approaches Jonah, who looks exactly like him, and they navigate the maze, avoiding the queen. The queen can't find them, and returns to the castle, where she sees Elias and Jonah riding horses together. The queen sends her knights to bring the boys back, but they hide in front of the knights. They are able to breathe underwater, making it easy to evade the knights. The queen then calls Jonah's mother and warns her that if her son sees Elias again, she and her son will be banished. Elias walks in, and Jonah's mother leaves in tears. Then he continues to ask his mother why she insists on keeping him and Jonah apart. However, the queen reminds him that he's speaking to both his mother and his queen. She continues to warn him that he will regret it if he sees Jonah again. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Long Trellis, the queen and the prince enjoy a bear performing in a circus act. The queen watches her son having fun and seems pleased. In the evening, the queen is preparing an event and tells Elias that she will need his help. While Elias helps his mother with her earrings, the queen sniffs him and seems suspicious. When Elias leaves the room, it turns out that Jonah has come to see Elias. The real Elias excitedly says that they can both pretend to be the king when Elias takes his father's throne. They are nearly unaware that the queen has been eavesdropping, and she has heard the entire conversation. When she's heard enough, she knocks, and the boys quickly change clothes. The queen walks in, reminding Elias of what she sacrificed to get him. Elias seems unimpressed, and she continues to say that no one will love him like she does. As the queen leaves, Elias and Jonah look puzzled before Jonah leaves for home. However, on his way home, he is ambushed by the queen, who tries to chase him with a fire stick. However, Jonah manages to escape. The next day, the queen and Elias pose for a painting, and Elias is distracted as he watches Jonah say goodbye to his mother. Elias eventually follows Jonah, asking why he is leaving. Jonah doesn't fully answer the question, continuing to stab a tree root, telling Elias that as long as the tree root sprouts clear water, he's alive and well. Days later, the boys play on the tree with the water sprouts. Elias checks if the water is clear, relieved when he sees it still is. Suddenly one day, there are blood traces on the water from the tree. Elias realizes something is wrong. To find Jonah, he leaves the kingdom without informing his mother. After a long search, Elias finally reaches Jonah's home. he finds that Jonah has married a young woman. People there recognize him as Jonah since they have the same facial features. He then learns that Jonah went to the forest 5 days ago and never returned. The queen, knowing that Elias has left with no choice, approaches the necromancer again. But he asks the same question, that if she wants her child back, she must make a life sacrifice. The queen immediately accepts the proposal. Elsewhere, Jonah is seen injured in a cave. A flying creature attacks and tries to kill him. After hearing Jonah's scream, Elias finds him and kills the creature with his sword. However, Elias doesn't know that the creature is none other than his own mother, but that's our pact for life. Then we are taken to Strong Cliff, where the king drinks all night and has a lot of fun. When he hears a pleasing voice of a woman, he stumbles towards the window. He finds a woman in the town, and when the king speaks to her, she hides. The king is determined to get the woman's attention, so he gives her a necklace without realizing that the woman is actually old. Dora and her sister Emma look at the necklace, fascinated by it. That night, when the king knocks on their door, the sister is getting ready for bed. Before they open the door, the king expresses his desire for Dora, admitting that he falls in love with her after hearing her sing. As Emma is about to tell the truth, Dora stops her, promising the king that if he comes back in a week, she will reveal herself to him. The king is confused, but he agrees, filled with desire for the woman. Later, the sisters work very hard to make their fingers look young and beautiful. Dora covers her fingers with herbs, but they still look like an old woman's fingers. On the other hand, Emma puts her fingers in her mouth for many days, so they look good and young. Today, a week passes, and it's the day of the king's visit. When the king arrives, Dora shows Emma's fingers instead of her own. Now the king can't control his emotions, believing he has found the love of his life. However, the sisters become more worried because if the king discovers the truth, he would likely kill them. After careful thought, Dora stipulates that she will sleep with the king only in complete darkness, and the king agrees. In the next scene, Emma begins to tighten Dora's body with glue, making it feel like a young girl's body. At midnight, a guard from the temple comes to pick up Dora. When the palace is dark, the king and Dora sleep together. But the next morning, he realizes he has spent the night with an old and ugly lady. In anger, he orders his guards to throw Dora out the window. Luckily, she survives the fall. In the jungle, Dora witnesses magic when a witch comes there and finds her. The witch uses her power to turn Dora into a beautiful young lady with long hair. The next day, the king comes to the jungle hunting and falls in love with young Dora at first sight. He takes her to his castle and decides to make her his queen. On the wedding day, a servant gives Emma a dress, inviting her to the wedding at the palace, and Emma accepts the invitation and the dress. Emma attends the wedding, seeing the queen as a beautiful young woman rather than her sister. When Dora approaches her and tells her the secret, she is confused. Dora assures her she will take care of her. However, Emma gets drunk at the feast and is enchanted by all the royal members, so she refuses to leave. Dora says she can't stay, but Emma is stubborn. Then she sneaks into Dora's room, begging her to stay. Dora is angry and threatens her, saying that no one here would believe Emma is her sister. Emma now also wants to be young, so she asks her to tell her how she did it. Dora jokingly replies that she has peeled off all the old skin. Unfortunately, Emma believes it, so she finds a blacksmith to remove her skin using a necklace as exchange. The latter agrees without hesitation, and he cruelly carries out the procedure in the forest. After a while, Emma returns to the castle, bloody and weak. Due to her injuries, she soon dies. In the next scene, the princess, named Violet, is playing a song she composed for her father in the palace of the king of the Mountain Kingdom. However, the king's attention is constantly diverted by a flea, and even though the king drives it away, the flea keeps reappearing. Violet notices her father's distraction but continues to sing. After her song ends, the king immediately returns to his room to take care of the flea, putting it in a gorgeous box. Over time, the king seems to spend an unsettling amount of time with the flea, showing more concern for this tiny creature than for his kingdom. On the other hand, Violet's tutor reads her a romance novel, and she finds it interesting. Violet tells her father she wants to marry, but he tells her it's not the time, and the princess is disappointed. After dinner, the king takes the leftovers to the now-grown flea, which enjoys the meal as the king looks on happily, treating it like his own child. In the Mountain Kingdom, the king calls a doctor to heal his beloved flea, which has now grown quite large. The doctor is surprised, having never seen such a creature, but it's too late, as the flea has died. The king demands secrecy from the doctor. Meanwhile, Violet receives a dress from her father, who now agrees to marry her off. He says her husband will be chosen in a game, using the huge flea's skin. He arranges a contest, and whoever wins will marry her. Violet is excited but also a little disappointed, wanting to choose a husband herself. Nevertheless, she agrees to the king's decision. Soon, an announcement about the contest spreads throughout the kingdom. Many try but fail to guess the insect's name from its skin, as no one has ever seen a bug grow so old and large. However, an ogre appears, identifying the skin by smell. Violet is terrified and threatens suicide. The king pleads with her and she ends up marrying the ogre. He takes her to a cave in the mountains filled with bones where Violet cries for many days. One day, Violet hears someone outside and discovers a woman who agrees to help her escape, with her entire family of acrobats assisting. But the ogre finds them and kills them one by one. Then he chases Violet into a cave and begins to hug her. Violet pretends to care but kills him with a knife when he's distracted. She returns to the castle, where the king has gotten illness, and she reveals the ogre's head and collapses in tears over the husband he chose for her. In the final scene, Violet becomes the queen of the kingdom. Elias, Dora, and the king of Strong Cliff are among the guests at her coronation. As Violet's father accompanies her to the throne, the crowd looks to the sky, where a performer is walking a fire rope. Then we see the magic turning Dora into a young girl won't last long, as she begins to age and flees the castle as she realizes she's getting old. This is the end of the movie. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and then click the bell icon to get new movie summaries.